Welcome to another video from Demystifying Proposals. In this video, we're going to talk about intervolume compelling, ways to take your proposal to the next level of being compelling. As a reminder, here are the basics. So what do we mean by compelling? The government looks for strengths, weaknesses, and deficiencies. Strengths and weaknesses can also be termed significant strengths or significant weaknesses. The point of the things that you do to make a proposal compelling is to emphasize what you believe are your strengths and significant strengths. Ways to make a proposal compelling include, first and foremost, obviously, a compliant proposal. The evaluators won't even bother to look for your strengths if they don't see your proposal as compliant. Secondly, it's important to have a well-written and formatted proposal. The evaluators will judge how your company is likely to perform the work by how the proposal reads and looks. Next, having strong win themes that come through in reading the proposal, often shown throughout the proposal in call-out boxes. And finally, having strong proof points, quantifiable and qualitative information you can point to say you've done this work before and well. Think of the compelling elements of a proposal as answering the so what question. Why do I, the evaluator, care that you've done the solution before? What was the outcome for that customer? How are these two solutions the same? Are you using the same tools, methodologies, staff? More than one of these connections make the proof points even more compelling. And how are they different if they are? And how are you going to address those differences? This can show understanding of the customer's environment versus that of the existing customer. In this section, we're going to talk about going the extra mile with past performance, ways to ensure that your compelling elements come through in both past performance and other sections of the proposal so that they reinforce each other. So I'm sure you've heard it a million times, but one of the ways we tell people to make a technical approach compelling is to add proof points. And those proof points, we want to answer the so what question that we talked about on that earlier slide. Talk about other programs that have used the same solution and been successful. Discuss tools that you may be suggesting and how your team has implemented them before and received positive feedback. In our compelling step-by-step video, we talk about how the best proof points come from the same projects the proposal is using as past performance. Again, that we're talking about intervolume compelling, right? So the evaluators already know and should be able to see that the experience is comparable, right? Because past performance should be comparable, same size, scope, and complexity. And the different proposal sections reflect the same strengths, reinforcing them. So the first step in tying your technical approach to your past performance is to make your past performance compelling, right? So you want to do your past performance in a compelling way, as we've talked about in our video, writing past performances for proposals. You map your past performance citations to the statement of work or the performance work statement for this procurement to show how they relate to the work being procured. So there's three things that we look for past performance: size, scope, and complexity. So you want your size to have a similar contract value, but how is this reflected in the technical approach? We'll talk about that in a second. Scope, by mapping the past work to the current RFP's statement of work or performance work statement. This is the duh part. This is what we just talked about. But don't forget to show your work, show how the proposed solution has been implemented elsewhere. And then complexity. This is subjective, but often about contract type or the scale of the work, or their customer challenges, or their timeline challenges. Do you have to manage in an environment with other contractors? Are you dealing with something that hasn't been done before, new legislation or a new product? But this past performance is still analogous to what the proposal is talking about in some way. So now you're going to go the extra mile by tying your technical approach to your past performance. Every program cited in your past performance should show up as a proof point in your technical approach. You can use additional programs because not every program that's analogous is also of the same size and complexity. But you want to make sure that if you have a past performance citation, it's used as a proof point in your technical approach. And a good way to do that is to echo the words or even use exactly the same language in both the technical approach proof points and in the past performance. Don't make it hard for the evaluators to understand that you're making these connections. Using the same language will resonate whether they're aware of it or not. So now we're going to talk about management approach. And the management approach often doesn't get as much attention as the technical approach when it comes to making it compelling. People tend not to think about putting proof points in the management approach, but there absolutely should be. Talk about other programs that have used the same approach and been successful. Examples of on-time delivery or meeting a difficult deadline because of management in some way. That's a good example to use. Another example might be averting a bad outcome or having difficult challenges and overcoming them. Those are good ways to use your management approach to talk about your past performance and make your management approach more compelling. Just as with the technical approach, discuss tools you may be suggesting and how your team has implemented them before and received positive feedback. Also, in our writing based on contract type video, we talk about how the management approach might be different based on contract type. Is there a proof point that you can use related to managing this type of contract elsewhere in your past performance? Also, does your staff have experience with this same solution? That might be another proof point if your contract type is one that emphasizes your staff's experience. So now, again, we're going to go the extra mile to tie the management approach to past performance. We're going to put the two together. Did you use the same program management methodology to manage the programs in your past performance citations? Something like PMBOK or CMMI? Likely, because most companies have a company standard methodology for program management. So don't forget to mention that in both sections, in the management approach and in past performance. You're using a government recognized standard program management methodology. Take credit for that. Make sure that you mention it. Is there a program management task? Often it's the statement of work task one that you can use as part of your mapping of the statement of work to the past performance citations. So if your program management task is your SAO task management one, then make sure that you reference that in your past performances when you map your past performances. Make sure that you reference that SAO task one where you're talking about program management. And then does your past performance citation have a kudo that you can also use in your management approach? Make sure any kudos show up in both sections as it relates to management, right? So tying the two, again, like we did with a technical approach and echoing the same language in both places. You want to echo the same language in both places here. Kudos is a good example for doing that. And what about complexity? How do your past performance citations prove that you can manage a program that's similar to the current program that you're proposing? So in this section, we're going to talk about going the extra mile with resumes, ways to tie your resumes to your technical approach and your management approach and make that intervolume compelling come through. So as a reminder, here are some of the ways we make resumes compelling. We assert that resumes must be tailored for each bid to show how the person being bid meets the requirements for the position you're bidding them for in the proposal that you're working on. In addition to showing that that person meets or exceeds the key personnel requirements to make a resume truly compelling, use the statement of work, the performance work statement, to show how the work this person has done is similar to the work being proposed. Echo the RFP's language in the resume. Change the language in the resume from what the generic resume or the person wrote to match the RFP's language to describe how that key personnel's work is analogous. Put in parentheses a reference to the statement of work tasks, parentheses SOW 2.2 as an example, for where you're making that connection between the statement of work tasks and the work that that person has done as shown in their resume. If you can't cover all the statement of work requirements, cover as many as you can, but then be sure that across all of the resumes, you're covering all of the statement of work requirements somewhere. So how do I tie my technical approach to the resumes? Well, if you've mapped the resumes to the statement of work, you can do the same thing in the technical approach. Are the key personnel you're proposing doing the same kind of work today? Great. That's a proof point in the technical approach where you're talking about how the work is going to be done. You can say, Joe Schmo, my program manager, did that same kind of work on this program and with this outcome. Outcomes are really important for the so what part of it. Or did they get some kind of recognition for it? Is your CPARS good? Did you get an award fee? Did you get a customer award? All of those kinds of things can show up as proof points in both technical approach and in resumes. In our video writing based on contract type, we also talk about taking ownership in your technical approach by tying your approach to the people who will be doing it. Again, this is dependent on the type of contract, but if you're doing a contract that's a cost plus or a time and materials kind of contract, where the names and the key personnel titles are important, the staff's experience is important, then be sure that whatever you're using in the resumes as the meets and exceeds shows up in the actual technical approach and use their names to tie the two together. And here are some ways to tie the management approach to resumes. Obviously, the management approach staffing section should use the same key personnel as the resumes. You have to ensure that there's a one-to-one mapping between anything you claim in the management approach with regard to your staff and what the resumes say. This sounds like a kind of a duh thing, but since the management approach is likely being written by someone different than the resumes, you better check. And make sure to mention in the program or project manager's resume that the program manager has managed using the same methodology you're saying that you will use for the program management in the management approach. If you're using PMBOK or you're using CMMI, make sure that the program manager or project manager's resume says somewhere that they have expertise with that management approach. Are there other staff who have that experience as well? Say you have a deputy program manager or you have technical leads. If they're also versed in that program management methodology, you should mention that because it strengthens the whole team has that experience. That'll strengthen your management approach. Are there other management tools cited in your management approach that your personnel have experience with? Examples might be communication management or risk management or other topics that are typical for program management and project management. Do the resumes reflect that experience? And does the management approach reflect that experience? Make sure that you're taking advantage of the experience that your team has across the team and not just the program manager. So what are some things that you can do from a cost volume perspective to go the extra mile in terms of making that inter-volume compelling come through? Again, like the technical approach and the past performance and the resumes and the management approach, these are often written by different people. So you need to make sure that you're thinking about it and checking across those things. The cost volume narrative is the same way. The cost volume narrative is often written by someone who may have only a high level understanding of the technical solution. So one of the final checks you should do at Gold Team is a comparison of what is in the cost narrative, the cost spreadsheet, the technical approach, and the management approach. Are people's names still the same? Sometimes you have to swap out key personnel based on requirements in the RFP or things that may change based on answers to questions or to get to your price to win. So make sure that the people's names, especially the key personnel, are the same in all of those documents. Same thing for hours. Maybe you had to adjust your hours based on the Q&A or based on your price to win. Make sure that what's in the cost narrative, what's in the cost spreadsheet, what's in the management approach, they're all the same. Have you adjusted your labor categories for your price to win? Maybe you had to um, decrease some of the labor categories to get to your price to win. Maybe you decided that you were going to bid a higher category for some people. Again, you need to make sure that that information is reflected in not only the cost narrative and the cost spreadsheet, but the technical approach and the management approach. Again, these are things that when I say them out loud, they kind of are a little bit like, well, that's obvious, but you'd be surprised at how often people don't take the time to do that. And it's really important not to wait to white glove, because if you do those kinds of cross checks at white glove, you may not have enough time for recovery at that point in the schedule. And then think about opportunities to make the cost narrative more compelling by tying it to the technical volume sections. Does your solution provide a better, faster way of doing the work? Then take a moment to use the same language in your technical approach to show that. Does your experience in the past performance citations give you the ability to manage this program more effectively? And is that reflected in your pricing? And so, shouldn't it be mentioned in your cost narrative? Does the standard methodology for managing programs as cited in the management approach across the company improve outcomes for the customer? Then why isn't that also mentioned in your cost narrative? Do you use program management reviews, PMRs, to manage program health? And is that mentioned in your management approach? Is it mentioned in your cost narrative? I like to think of these extra compelling elements that you can add to a proposal as proposal management 301 or maybe even 401. They're things that you don't necessarily think about when you think about compelling at the beginning of your management journey, but they can really make your proposal sing if you can do it. Hope you enjoyed this video from Demystifying Proposals. If you did, click the thumbs up. And if you want to learn more about all of our videos, click on the subscribe button and you'll learn more about each video as it comes out.